are the Obamas just continuing to fail up in their post-presidential existence? You know, there was a lot of discussion about the kind of Netflix deal, the 8-figure deal that they reportedly got to produce shows for Netflix. Not much has come of it. I believe they produced one documentary that didn't seem to make much of a social, cultural impact at all. Now, in the wake of some financial disclosures from Netflix, where their subscriber losses led to a single-day drop of about $60 billion in market cap, people are scrutinizing what the purpose of this relationship is with the Obamas. So Netflix quietly re-upped Higher Ground Productions. That's the name of the talent relationship with the Obamas.
But they also had a deal with Spotify that has gotten canceled. Now they've gone to Audible. You were saying before we started talking about this that you don't really think, and I agree with you, the Obamas' kind of entertainment ventures have made much of a splash into the culture.
It's not going well. If you get Bruce Springsteen on your podcast and you still can't get much in the way of consistent listenership.
That's like crack for boomers. Crack cocaine.
But the problem was, I mean, I was joking about this a second ago, but everyone thinks they can do a podcast. In the wake of the 2020 election, every failed Democratic presidential candidate got a podcast. Hillary Clinton got a podcast. They would sit down with people like John Legend and talk about how great they were and how great everything was. And sometimes there would be sensitive, sweet things about stuff that happened in their lives that were relatable and human. But I'm not tuning in to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen and John Legend to hear anodyne tales about what it's like to do midnight baby feedings or to be a retiree. I mean, so what is the draw? You're not charismatic enough on your own to hold down a podcast the way that so many of these popular figures like Joe Rogan, frankly, are. But these institutions, as they cut show after show after show that people love, Netflix cut a bunch of its excellent news shows, like the one with Hassan Minhaj and the one with Wyatt Cenac, just the time when I think American politics really could have used that kind of analysis. It instead sunk all of its money into these kind of vanity projects, and still it seems is continuing to hold out on the promise that they'll actually deliver.
And it must be a ton of money. Oh, you said it was 8 figures.
8 figures.
I spent this entire time trying to calculate in my head how much money that is. I'm really bad at conceptualizing numbers that way.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Tens of millions of dollars for things that go nowhere.
Yeah.
And look, not every vanity project fails. I think a lot of folks right now are paying a lot of attention to the Duke and Duchess of Essex show about Prince William. And it's actually, I think, drawing more viewership than a lot of these other kinds of efforts. There's a certain scandal aspect there that doesn't exist around the Obamas, who are very pure, and that's part of their allure.
I'm clearing my calendar to watch. I'm going to watch Wednesday. I'm excited to try that out.
I've already watched it.
Was it good?
I enjoyed it. It's bingeable.
I'm sure I'm going to like it, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. At the same time that this is being reported, and kind of this free money grab for the Obamas is being reported, there is another conversation going on about the cuts that are being made at these platforms, rather, like HBO. So HBO just announced recently, leading into the holidays, that it was not only not renewing a number of very popular programs, including Love Life, which I enjoyed a great deal. Season 2 is
They canceled
excellent.
Westworld. There's not going to be a season 5 of Westworld, although Westworld has been terrible for the last 2 seasons.
It was time to put that dog down.
Yeah.
However, it's not only canceling these shows, it's saying it's going to take them off of the platform.
I don't like that.
So this is the thing about this digital world we live in. We pay $10 a month for access to these things, but we don't actually own anything. So at the end of years and years of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if they decide to limit our access to our favorite shows, there's nothing we can do about it. And they basically stop existing in the public sphere.
And you know, they've done that in a couple occasions for kind of cancel culture related reasons. I know they've taken down episodes deemed offensive for various reasons. Several times in really stupid ways. The episode, the example that stands out is an episode of Community that was taken down. It's the Dungeons and Dragons episode of Community, because one of the characters, it's Ken Jeong, is that his name? The funny Asian guy?
Yeah. The Spanish teacher.
Yes, Senor Chang.
Yeah.
He dresses in as a drow, so it's like blackface is what people said, but he's portraying a dark elf. Like, he has the silver hair of the dark elves. It's not an offensive portrayal
That's
at
so
all.
Funny.
And it's like he's playing an actual character.
Yeah.
And also they joke about that it looks like black.
Yeah.
Like, it's acknowledged
Yeah.
And they took that down.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. I remember we talked about, I think here on this show, there was an error made in an episode of Stranger Things where they say the date, and earlier in the show they had established that I think it was Will's birthday, and no one mentioned it during the subsequent episode. So because they have full control of the catalog, nobody has like an original on a DVD somewhere. They just went back and edited it and changed it.
But they couldn't take that coffee cup out of the last season of the last terrible season of Game of Thrones. That shows you how little they were trying. Man, that. I don't know.
So
mad.
It does say something weird about our perception of reality and our ability to kind of hold on to our memories when there's no hard copy to validate any of it. And in a more serious context, we saw when RT was taken down in the wake of the Russia invasion, a number of people lost their complete catalog. I interviewed Abby Martin, who had a show on RT for years, and she said that the only reason her show exists at all anymore is because her sweet mother used to kind of anachronistically record it on DVDs. So she was able to re-upload it. But I don't know. There's a lot going on with these apps, and I think the future of streaming services and what our world looks like 10, 20 years from now is very uncertain, and it's having a financial impact on these companies.
I remember when they took down several episodes of the Pokemon television series, the anime series, which I liked as a kid.
As a kid.
I might have rewatched it recently. There was one episode that actually famously, Pikachu has like a very bright lightning flash and it flashes a bunch. It actually gave some people watching had seizures. It was like a legit thing. Like everybody thought it was an urban legend that like, oh, I heard, you told your friend's cousin, somebody knew someone who had a seizure. No, it was real. People actually had seizures, so they stopped airing that episode. Or they changed the colors to not do that
Sometimes
anymore.
they put warnings up. I see epilepsy warnings on shows sometimes. Well, look, I'd be really interested to see what happens with this Obama production. At this point, the amount of money that's been spent and the amount of time that's passed means that they got to deliver big. They got to go big or go home, and there are going to be a lot of eyes on it. So let's see if they can be as successful as the Duke and Duchess of Essex. Have you watched any of that?
I have not watched any of that.
I think it broke some kind of record as like the highest streaming thing. At least
Does
for
it
the
make
first
you
half
like
of it.
them?
The thing that is most compelling about them, and that is most endearing about them, I should say, is how unhinged the British media is about them.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent, but the vitriol that comes their way for the most innocuous, ridiculous things, like she's not supposed to refer to him as like her husband, apparently. She's supposed to refer to him as the Duke, or I don't know, something formal and ridiculous. And they go in on her for things that they don't have the same complaints for Catherine about. It does seem to be the case that the royal family had different rules for how William and Kate were treated versus how Harry and Meghan were treated. That kind of thing.
I mean, this is echoes
irritating.
of the Princess Diana thing.
Yes.
The press was... other aspects of the press then blamed the press for being complicit almost in her death.
Yes.
For how predatory and obsessed they were and how they turned on her.
Yes. So that aspect is compelling. I will say that Harry just seems like a very average guy who, but for being a prince, no one's interested in seeing him on camera. And Meghan does have a certain star quality. She is an actress, but I find her to be too self-aware on camera, like an actress. And so you don't get that kind of prurient, like behind-the-scenes interest you do from other kinds of docs. So it's interesting because of the commentary on the royal family, not so much because of the people involved. I will be watching the rest of the series.
I might give it a try, but Wednesday's next on my docket. So we'll see about that. More Rising after this.